Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we are here talking about different anime. Last week we just finished up Gatchaman Crowds, which was a suggestion by CZD, and we got another suggestion by CZD. And this week we are starting our journey down the psychopass. And I am not alone watching Psychopass and all the anime we've already watched, but I am joined here by Matt Galley. Matt, Psychopass. Give me
Psychopass.
one word. Psychopass episode 1 through 4 in one word. Go.
Bleak.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my word.
I was thinking, is it one word? Is cyberpunk one word? Because I would say cyberpunk. It's giving me big cyberpunk vibes. But we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna
Compound word?
discuss. Is cyberpunk? Yeah. We're going to be talking about Psychopass episode 1 through 4. If you have not watched it, don't worry. We're going to give you a rundown of what happens. But if you want to go and watch that first and then come back to discuss it, that's totally cool. Shout out to everybody here live on Twitch. We are streaming live, twitch.tv/JulesTheHuman on Thursdays, and then uploaded later on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Or I'm live on Twitter as well right now. So if you want to come on by to the Twitch to join the chat, you can do that. But yeah, I'm excited to get into another anime, and we are going to be watching the first 12 episodes, correct? That's what we
First
said.
12
The
episodes.
first 12 episodes. So this week, episode 1 through 4, next week, 5 through 8, and then 9 through 12. And then we're done with our little Psychopass arc. So that's kind of what we do here. We've already gone through a couple of them. And if you want to check them out, we went through Black Clover. We each rated it a B. And we watched Gatchaman Crowds. Just finished it last week, and we rated that one an A. So those are the two anime that we have watched so far. These are the ones in the anime chest. If you would like to get an anime in the chest of champions, that is 500 bits live. 500 bits live, and you could suggest us an anime to put in there. Some people have already done so. And next week, since neither me or Matt's suggestions were picked, me and Matt are going to put one in there as well. So if you want to get yours in before the next time, you could do that by donating 500 bits live and giving us an anime. But let's get into it, because this is a lot to talk about because we're starting it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, let's just get into it. Yeah, just
Sure.
episode 1, crime coefficient.
Crime
I'm gonna
coefficient, which is a term that's going to be coming up very often throughout probably most of the show, but these first 4 episodes especially.
take a drink every time they say psychopass, because it's a
Take a
lot.
drink every time they say psychopass. Finish your drink anytime they say crime coefficient.
Yeah.
2 drinks if they say dominator. Just kidding. Episode 1, crime coefficient. We kind of get thrown right into the mix on this stormy night where the blocks are being cut off from law enforcement due to public safety. We quickly meet a couple of the main characters, Akane and Genoza. Akane is a rookie in this law enforcement department called the CID, where she is what is known as an inspector. Shortly after that, we get to meet another crew of people, a short cast who get introduced to us as enforcers. Inspectors are kind of like the handlers of enforcers. Enforcers are seen somewhat like crime dogs, and they're used to sniff out other crime coefficient exceeding individuals in this world, because there's basically a database that tracks everybody's thoughts, and it's able to detect malicious criminal thought behavior activity. And if your crime coefficient becomes too high, you become a threat to the public and you are taken in for rehabilitation at a certain level. But if your crime coefficient is past a certain point, it is just you're terminated on site, basically. We see a short run-in where Akane, this newbie, is thrown right into the mix and has to resolve a hostage situation using her own wits and the enforcers that are assisting her. And that's where episode 1 takes us.
Bro, oh, shout out to everybody in the live chat. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, howdy, howdy, howdy. But
Howdy, howdy.
we're talking about episode 1, crime coefficient of psychopaths. And um, first off, I want to ask, how do you feel about the opening? Because this is the first time that we're watching it. How do you feel?
I I didn't like it a lot personally.
Oh,
Do
okay.
I think it fits this like vibe, like you kind of said, cyberpunk, dystopian, noir, almost like kind of crime noir vibe that it's setting? Yeah, it like matches the tone of the show. I just didn't find myself like I played it every 4 episodes, didn't skip it once, and or 3 episodes because it skips it the first one,
It
I think
didn't do the
possibly.
first one, yeah.
Yeah, but it was just it didn't really stick with me. Yeah. How about you?
Drew asked, where can I watch this? Is it on Crunchyroll? It is on Crunchyroll, yes.
It's on Crunchyroll.
Think it used to be on Netflix, Smudge said, but not sure if it's still. Yes, it's on Crunchyroll right now. I think there's like there's a lot of episodes, but we're gonna watch only the first 12 episodes. But the way that the first one starts, the way that the first episode starts is that we see like it kind of just throws you in, like you said, Kogami and Makishima. um I just saw like a white hair dude and the black hair dude, and I was there. They say their names explicitly, and that's kind of how it just throws you in, and then it does another thing, and then it gets you into like all the stuff, into the actual like crime. But yeah, the opening was cool. Is it because the music didn't match what was actually
The
playing?
visuals were pretty cool. They weren't super in your
It
face though. They were pretty it was a lot of abstract imagery, I feel like,
Yeah.
that was going on.
It would feel like a little lackluster, but I still enjoyed it. I still like that kind of stuff. It gave me like Metal Gear Solid,
Okay.
like Metal Gear Solid 3, just like Snake Eater, just colors and little James Bond esque sort of thing.
Okay. I can
Um,
see
s-
that for
so it was
sure.
more like that for me. But we get a lot of information, like you were saying. We got the idea. I want to talk more about in this one. Um, I think I want to talk more about the concepts, because there's a lot of concepts they throw at you in the first episode and throughout the first 4 episodes,
Mhm.
about the whole enforcers are criminals, but they're used to hunt other criminals.
Latent criminals. That's the term they use. Meaning like it's a latent, like think latency, like with internet terms. If we do not do something, they will become a criminal. They're in the process of becoming a criminal, latent criminal, because of their thought patterns and such. The enforcers are to a point that like we see that they are probably put through rehabilitation of sorts, and they probably meet certain criteria to where they can almost control it to a certain degree, and so they've been put to work in the CID as enforcers, because the show also gets into concepts of like a system kind of telling you what jobs you are supposed to be
Yeah.
good at in order to achieve optimal happiness.
See, there's a
Woo!
lot of like there's a lot of things here that to break down, and I don't want to go over like the what actually happened, but I do want to talk about the bigger picture about like what's actually going on in this world, because latent criminals, these enforcers that are helping, but then whenever we could talk about the Dominator, the gun that they use, because we didn't really talk about it, but the Dominator gun checks out your psychopaths as you're pointing it to somebody, and it says it shows you their colors. It shows you like where they're at in their head, their mental state, and it's like, is this person good or not? And the enforcers still are able to be shot by them, so they're
Because
still
they're
like
still latent
on.
criminals. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still on the thing, and it's used to judge the psychopaths, and it won't shoot unless the person is a latent criminal. So I think I like rules. I like when they give me rules. I like when in the first episode they're like, "This is this, this is this." They show like the UI, all this stuff. I like that it's like a fish out of water. This is her first day. It's really, general
Oh yeah.
anime where it's like,
It's she's completely a rookie, fresh, and that way the show is able to justify all of this new information being thrown out because it's for her, but it's for us.
And I like that. I like when they do that because it's just an easy like anime trope. Like, it's my first day. I just woke up. Whatever. What's going on? It's like, oh, you silly. This is
Actually,
how the
we're
world.
really short staffed, so you're getting thrown right into it,
Yeah.
and we're just gonna kind of talk about it as we go.
Yeah. Here's some criminals for you
Here's
to
a gun.
manage. Here's a gun, and here's some criminals you can manage. I really like though that she pointed it at the older guy, the older enforcer. That I
Mhm.
I really like that guy. I don't know his name, but I really like the older enforcer guy. But she like pointed at his back and it's like, yo, you could shoot him right
Mhm.
now, whatever. But we get like the idea of crime coefficient as well.
Yeah.
There's this whole first story in the beginning where they're chasing a bad guy, pretty standard, and he takes a
Hostage.
girl
Mhm.
hostage, and it's pretty dark. Me and Matt were talking about it, and we are saying like, this is definitely not Gatchaman Crowds, this is definitely not Black Clover. He was definitely
Which
doing
is
some
okay.
stuff, yeah, which is good, but like it was kind of like he's doing it, like he's
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah,
here we go.
there's some TW stuff that could be touched on in this show for sure if that's the type of subject matter that you're not comfortable with, because it does definitely dive into some subject matters.
And I'm fine with them putting it in the first episode because it kind of tells you if you're not ready for that, then it's like, okay, you don't have to, like, this is what we're bringing to the table. You could pick it up or you don't have to.
Yeah,
I kind of like that they did that in the first episode, even though I didn't like the subject matter. I didn't like that they did it, but I liked that they did it
how they handled it.
as a viewer. It's like, okay, I know what kind of anime this is now. Like, this is very different than what we've done. But the
We see
hostage.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no. The idea that this was a hard one for me because
Mhm.
the idea that the guy who is not all there takes the hostage, his psychopass is enough for them to first like to paralyze, but then later on to lethally kill the person and explode his body into blood. But not only that, but just because she was with him and then she was getting some thoughts, like, what is that? What is that?
That's the To me, that's the show's take on why is it why am I losing it right now? Um the take on somebody being innately born with evil in them versus being raised and it being nurtured. Nature versus nurture. It's kind of
Sure.
like one of the an early conversation point of getting into nature versus nurture, because the show, they kind of talk about it as it's happening, as they're trying to catch up to the hostage situation. They're like, this is going to become a psycho hazard. I'm pretty sure that's the term they use, where
Psycho hazard.
somebody else's crime coefficient and psychopath being off the charts and being so adjacent to somebody else, they're going to influence that person negatively. And he even grabs her psychopath and is like, shoves it in her face and is like, see, look at your numbers, you're crazy too, they're going to get you and you're never going to be safe again. And like, he's feeding that, and that's playing into her internal struggle, that she's already in a hostage situation, which is super distressing. She's probably having aggressive thoughts versus the person that's kidnapping her and stuff. It's So they finally take care of the guy that's the kidnapper, but now the hostage has become the situation, because now her psychopath is in the yellow,
Fucking
borderline
Spider-Man.
going into the red.
Spider-Man pointing to each other. Y'all are both the psychopaths. But like that concept is so wild. And
Yeah,
the way that Kogami uh was
saw that.
handling it, I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I was like, oh no. Like I have not we haven't me or Matt haven't watched this anime before. This is our first time watching, and the only thing I've ever seen was this guy on the cover. And this is my first like idea of him. He's an enforcer, he's a latent criminal, and he's, I guess, possibly supposed to be the main character, and he's trying to get this hostage to go even crazier so he can like lethal her or whatever. And I was like, I don't know if I like this guy. But then, we do some other stuff in the next one. But Smudge is saying, do you think her psychopath was affected due to the trauma she's suffering, that the hostage would have PTSD and therefore had a high number.
Yes,
Yeah, definitely.
that's
But
that's
like
that's
but
like
like is that a
the
cool is that good? Like is that bad?
I think it's real.
It's real, but like do they deserve to die because of it?
The enforcers early on state that the dominators, the gun gives you point it at somebody, it gives you their readout, you pull the trigger. That is the enforcer's mindset. And we get to see that Akane completely rejects that idea because she understood the situation at hand, how things were playing out, what was going on, hostage situation, et cetera, et cetera. She saw her react viscerally when the dude got exploded. It all played out in front of her, and she's simply at the point that's like, we don't like lethal force is not necessary. And I even think she felt bad that the girl you eventually got paralyzed once they were able to like talk her down, so to speak.
And
But
she was like laying I was expecting her to go up in flames, to be
that's
honest.
she's getting chased by what's his name? She's getting chased by
Kogami?
Konogami,
Oh,
yeah, and she's getting chased by him after fleeing the kidnapper that got exploded. Stumbles into all these barrels and stuff, then all this gasoline's leaking everywhere. She has a lighter, and that's gonna again, it's playing into her psychopath, like light the fire, throw it, explode this place, unalive yourself, because the things are not gonna go well if they get their hands on you.
it's
That's all happening without the show really saying it.
yeah, as this unfolds, it definitely like is pretty provocative. And how do you feel about the before we go on to episode 2, how do you feel about the weapon that they have? Because I feel like we're not going to get any other weapons. I feel like this is the one weapon because we saw it go from paralyzed mode to lethal mode, and later on we see it go and do some pretty cool stuff, but like
Mhm.
I feel like this is the only weapon we're going to see. And how do you feel about it?
I think it's cool. I think it's a neat take, and it's definitely as on the nose it is. It also the weapon itself starts to play into the conversation of, do guns kill people or do people kill people? If the gun's literally telling me to kill somebody.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So
Well, it's the Sybil system
yeah, exactly.
that
That's
it's
like the whole
connected to.
Sybil system is connected to it, but like, I'm holding this thing that I'm just pointing at somebody, and it's telling me that they're dangerous and I need to use lethal force on them. Like, so again, that's what the enforcers, they say, like, hey, we pull the trigger. That's what we're here to point the gun and pull the trigger. That's my job.
It's so wild. Let's go on to episode 2, Those Capable, because it was not as dark as this one, but also pretty interesting. So, what goes down? Give us a short synopsis of episode 2.
Those capable is kind of like it's a sister episode to episode 1. Like, these two episodes come in a pair. Episode 1, we get to see how Akane will handle a situation, being thrown right into it, like no training other than what she had before. Episode 2, it takes some time to put her in situations with the rest of the main cast, and she kind of everybody kind of talks to her about why she chose to do this job. Everybody's talking to her about like uh the fact that like what she did, whether or not like she feels justified in the situation. She's kind of processing what happened because she knows that she, by the books, was in the wrong. And that's the last thing her superior says at the end of the first episode, is like, I expect you to be able to like explain your actions today. And so I think the second episode is just kind of like her going around, like talking to old friends that she hasn't seen in a while, connecting with these new friends that she's making, and kind of trying to understand her sense of place and what she's going to be bringing to the table. Because according to everybody else, like, she could have chose literally any job she wanted, but she decided to be here.
Yeah, so that's what's going on in episode 2. A little bit. And we mentioned earlier about the whole you taking the tests or whatever, and it's psychologically picking a job that's most compatible with you and a job that'll make you the happiest. But like when I think this is the episode where she meets up with friends. That's what you're talking about, where they're
Mhm.
talking and their friends are even like still complaining about their job, even though it's statistically the most happy that they will be, which is really interesting. But it does say, or they do say that Akane was more than capable for other things. She was worth more and she was like at the top and she should be doing something else. And that's where she would be happiest, but then she chooses this to try and change or like like this is not the place for her, but I like that she's here. I'm okay with her being here. I was feeling a lot of cyberpunk vibes. We were talking about
There's a
um
lot of subtlety with all that stuff. One of the first things we see in this episode is like the projection mapping of her room where she wakes up and is basically like, I want to be like here today. And her little assistant is like, okay, I'm going to use this place as a reference. And just like her whole room turns into like a different place.
and her like are they all just wearing holograms? Are they all
When
wearing
she set her little outfit on her
That was pretty
nose
cool.
powder thing, it's just like, bro, it's fucking Final Fantasy.
It's
It's Final
literally
Fantasy
Final
14
Fantasy.
glamour.
But like, okay, so they show that part. Okay, I think it messed with my brain because um she switched and got a new clothing set, right? And then literally the scene right after that, she goes to see I forgot. I don't know all their names. There's a ton of names there.
A
The,
lot of
the
characters.
girl in the computer room, and I
Mhm.
guess she was with another girl. But then the other girl
The
came out.
comprehensive analysis lab, that's what
Yeah,
that place was.
yeah.
Yeah, she comes
Okay.
out, like, and they kinda stare at each other for a second.
Her legs were like open
Yeah.
and stuff. But like the girl that comes out, she was adjusting her tie, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Is it a hologram or is it not?" Like, because it literally it like messed with me instantly. I just noticed that. I don't know why. She's literally switching her hologram clothes, and then in the next scene the girl comes out and she's like adjusting her little tie and stuff, and I'm like, wait, what? Are there
What
some
if
real clothes?
what if all of the clothes can just materialize, and then the second they're there, they're, like, physical, and then you pull the thing
Maybe.
out when you wanna dematerialize and rematerialize a new outfit.
It's a cool concept, yeah. I really enjoyed it, but I like all the like cyberpunk vibes for sure that we're getting. Very cool futuristic world. I like that this was more world building in
Mhm.
episode 2. I like when anime give you a shot of something like I don't know, like just like some big battle at the beginning and then like it slows down and it's like all right, let's go. Here's the world. Like she wakes up, you get the vibe, and I really enjoy it. But the big thing about this one was that Akane chose her job, where everyone else relies on the Sybil system to pick their job they will be the happiest with. We still don't have by the end of episode 4, we still don't have the most comprehensive knowledge about the Sybil system, but we can kind of understand what's going on, which is okay. They kind of say some stuff, but like basically, the other thing that we get is that the enforcers are basically prisoners, that they were these criminals or latent criminals, and they're just forced to be there. They're just forced to stay there in
In the CID, like, they either have to be in their personal, lodging spaces, or they need to be on the CID floor. If they're outside of the building, they need to be under the guidance of a inspector handler.
what is
Pretty much
that?
prisoners. Yeah, I
What it
mean, that's that deal where they were probably it doesn't explain the enforcer, like, step-by-step process, but given the world, we can probably assume that, they're latent criminals. They probably went through some sort of a, vetting process where they were chosen to be a part of the CID as their hounds, so to speak. They constantly refer to themselves as, like, dogs because they're there to sniff out the other criminals.
there is a lot of allusion to them not being human a
Yep.
lot of the time, and I'm like,
The Gyoza, the Akane superior Ginoza, he says, like, they do not think when they're like little vans rolling up. He's like, do not think the group that you're about to meet are also like people. They are not people. They are latent criminals. They are our tools.
Fuck,
That is what
dude.
this guy is giving off.
It's wild. Super
We
dehumanizing, and it's
very
weird to
dehumanized.
watch. It's weird. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like this is super thought provoking. I like that this one's very different. All three anime that we've gone through so far have been super different, and this is the kind of show for me more so because one, it looks really pretty. I really like the animation. The animation looks really good and fluid. Um, but this is more on the thought provoking side, and they're using their words, and it's going pretty fast. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I got to keep up to what's going on. Um,
We do see Akane visit Konagami in the like the hospital ward or whatever, because when she shot him in the last episode with the paralyzer, she apparently hit him right in the spinal cord or something. So his recovery process was like taking a bit longer, and she like has a a bit of a conversation with him where she's like, are you mad at me? Do you think I'm in the wrong for what I did? And he's just like, no.
yeah.
I think you fulfilled your duty. I think you acted exactly how you should. And he even explained to her that as a handler, if you don't like what I'm gonna do, shoot me. That's your job. That's how you tell me
Ugh.
no. You shoot me.
I just don't want her again. I don't want her to fall for him. It's gonna go there, and we see some like little things later on where she's like giving him the eyes, and I'm like, can they just be platonic? Like, I just don't want it to be ruined like that, where she
No
has eyes
romantic
for him.
subplot, please.
I don't want a romantic subplot. I'm just tired of it. I'm just like, can't these be two cool people? I just want them to be cool together. But that's fine. It's just a little nitpick. But
No, yeah.
um, yeah, so that was a big thing. They sniffed him out like dogs. They sniffed this guy out, and like you were saying earlier, like this one is a sort of a continuation, but it's pretty uh in a boat on its own. I
True.
think these first three episodes are in a boat on its own. I like that it sounded like he remembered he's not just a dog, he's a person who is also a criminal. I think Kagami is probably the more advanced one. He seems like a really good, like, he wants, like you said before, he wants to be a detective. He wants to work, he wants to do the thing. Um and he's pretty good at it, I think. So far. I didn't like him at the beginning, but
What happens by the end of this set of episodes, I am sold on the fact that he would be an amazing detective.
yeah.
Yeah.
So episode 3 is another like bottle episode, sort of, but
Mhm.
it's actually really cool. I really enjoyed this one.
It's a very, very interesting episode, and I think it is the perfect episode before the greater, like, bigger picture kicks off, because like you said, there are rules in this universe. I too like when it establishes rules. I like these numbers, crime coefficient, psychopass, these grounded elements, and this episode kind of takes it, and it kind of twists what your expectation of that could be. It doesn't say that, it's not really breaking the rules, but it's reminding you that, like, hey, there can be what's the word for it? There can be like I'm forgetting the word. When, like, in a contract, when a loophole, there can be loopholes
Loophole.
in the system because it's a system.
Yeah.
So
So episode 3, rearing conventions.
rearing conventions, we see the team set out to investigate a bunch of like accidental deaths that have been happening in a drone facility. The manager of the facility kind of keeps assuring everyone that it's a bunch of simple accidents that are happening. But as time goes on, we learn that there's probably a lot more bureaucracy at play. Everybody, the investigators and the enforcers, they want to check everybody out one by one using their dominators, but the manager is like, well, if you want to shut down the entire production staff, you need to file a request first, because that'll play into our numbers, and these are just a bunch of accidents. This guy Konogami sees somebody getting bullied in the cafeteria while they're kind of still trying to decide how to handle the situation, because this facility is not linked to the system. It's not linked to the
Anything.
to
The
anything.
Sybil
Yeah,
system.
it is to the Sybil system. It is a 100% facility that is operating in its own thing, in its own bubble, which is terrifying. Konagami essentially bluffs out at one of the people who he suspects is the that actual serial murderer. He bluffs in order to kind of put them in a corner. He sniffed out the suspect. He put the suspect in a corner and was like, and now if they react, we know we got our guy. If we leave, we know we're fine. The subject reacts and they handle it accordingly, with the situation resolving with him being taken into custody. But it's a pretty wild episode.
Bro, I really enjoyed this episode. We get a lot of information and stuff. But again, this is another thought-provoking episode because of episode 4, I think, is like the easiest to talk about. We could talk about it really quickly, but I really want to talk about episode 3's like, so they're in the drone facility. They're making drones, whatever. We got three people dead, and uh they're not connected to anything, and this leader guy
The
just so
manager.
casually just talks about how there's just this one person that everybody bullies because they're not connected to the internet, they're not connected to the outside world. They use someone to keep everybody else stable.
Because there are not a lot of stress relieving opportunities in the facility. The employees are to work and live in this place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's not a lot of recreation. How do they get out stress? They bully somebody. One person is the person that kind of gets bullied, so that way everybody else can remain stress free. If that one person is getting bullied, becomes a red problem, with this psychopass, we'll just evict him and get somebody else in here.
I want, and he said it so nonchalantly too, and then all like the detectives and stuff, they're just, or inspectors, they were just like,
Yeah,
what?
Konogami was like stands up as he's saying like, dang, what a great thing the Sybil system is, allowing stuff like this to happen with somebody like you to oversee it with a smile on their face and not give an absolute shit
Yeah,
about anything. What
yeah,
a
he
great
was,
system.
yeah, because he was like, this is a great system, because the guy was like, this is a great system because we have this one person that we could all bully and we could just get rid of him later. And then he was like, well, this is perfect that you're happy about this because the Sybil system got you to your happiest point, which is making somebody else's life the living hell. And it's like, oh, this is, I mean, it works, but
Yeah,
like, you
but
kind
at
of
what
suck.
cost?
You suck ass, bro. So, the hue system, they call this guy yellow green.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you were to, how do we know what like the system is, the color
I
system,
don't think it
the
explains the
hues?
full hue system, but I would expect it to be like to go from green to yellow green to yellow orange to orange to orange red to red, or something like that. From green to
Yeah,
red.
yeah, that's what I was
So
gonna
he's
say.
probably in the yellow green, which is like he's good. He
He's the
he's got some stress, but he'll be fine
he's the
for now.
furthest away. He's further away than anybody else,
Yeah.
I guess, to
If
like
everybody
the
else
other
is in the
side.
green, he's in the yellow green, and he is the
Yeah.
yellow green because he's the bully recipient. But the really interesting thing is that they kind of go through the records of everybody's psychopasses, and they're like, well, if anybody's killing anybody in this facility, like everybody's psychopasses are staying the same. In fact, the guy that's in the yellow green, after somebody died, his numbers got better. And then that's what struck a red flag to Konagami, where he's like, in his mind, he's like, it doesn't, the show never explains it, I don't think. But to me, Konagami made a connection that like, hey, this guy's killing people that are bullying him, and it's giving him catharsis and making his numbers go down.
Yes. CZ mentioned, don't they mention that Akane is blue? I think so.
I
Maybe.
can't remember.
I think that's why I was confused, because I was like, there's just like a lot of colors going on and I don't really know the range. I thought I would
I would
think
put
that
blue below green.
Yeah, I would think that I would think that red is the worst, but yeah, I'm not too sure. But speaking of what you were saying, I liked that whole part. I liked that whole section because it felt very Sherlock. It gave me like big Sherlock vibes, like they were figuring it out, and I like that we didn't do a whole like, okay, gang, we're gonna do this. This is how it's gonna play out. um all right, let's go do it. Like we were watching it in real time, and we did not know what Kogami was doing, and we were like,
Exactly.
yo, what's going on, what are you doing? And then he's like explaining it as it's going. It felt very Sherlock, and I was like, specifically Benjamin Cumbersnatch is fucking Sherlock. I like that Sherlock. And it felt kind of like that, where he's like, okay, well, if he reacts, if he does the thing, he's going to do the same thing that he did to the other people, but he's going to do it to us. Here he is. We got to go.
Yep. It's like they keep referring to the whole the dog analogy, where it's like this guy, he knows how to sniff out the prey and put him in a corner. And when what else to do when backed into a corner except lash out?
For sure. She says it was at the start of episode 2 with the AI thingy, I think, and her friends bring it up.
I
Matt,
think I remember that.
what color is your psychopass? Chat,
Oh.
everybody watching live, what color is your psychopass right now? What is it?
Oops. I can't say.
It just says oops on there.
Just oops. Seek immediate attention.
Bro, I mean, catch me at that yellow green, if you know what I'm saying. But Kogami fucking blasts the shit out of the homie. I liked that.
Yeah, we saw the Dominator go from boop boop, like stun, set to like eliminate, to set to freaking dematerialize.
It was
what did it do?
Cool. Yeah, I liked where they just showed it and it got like big and it was like poof, like a fucking plasma cannon, and I was like, yo, okay. So pretty dope.
It was crazy.
What the heck is an anime hour? The Jules Matt Anime Hour is a podcast about anime, and we watch episodes of anime every week, and we come here and discuss them. We would love for you to discuss them with us, and we could watch them together. It's kind of like a book club, but with anime. And today we are talking about Psychopass, episode 1 through 4. We just started it. We're gonna watch up to episode 12. So if you wanna if you know about Psychopass, you can join the conversation, or you can watch this later, or you can start watching it, and then by next week we're going to be watching episode 5 through 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. There it is.
5, 6, 7, 8.
And then we're going to switch to another anime after we're done. But we are almost at the end. Episode 4, Nobody Knows Your Mask, and this is kind of where it just shifts.
Yep.
Pretty entirely.
This feels like a kickoff.
Yes.
Of sorts. We see, like, if up to this point, like, if we're thinking of a game like a game of chess, we've been seeing like kind of like some of the pawns move on like one side, a little bit of like knight movement maybe, and we're finally starting to see the whole board and how far the game actually might already be. Because yeah. Episode 4. What was episode 4 called again?
Nobody Knows Your Mask.
Nobody Knows Your Mask. Great name for the episode. Great name for the episode. The episode, we get to see kind of like this jester-like figure on the interwebs known as Talisman. Talisman seems to be like a forum character where people go to them for advice, and they give it they give advice to anybody seeking it, but they kind of remain. Sorry, adjusting my mic. They kind of remain anonymous on the interwebs. Talisman's IRL user goes missing. The CID finds out, and an investigation starts to go underway. As the investigation happens, we get to see some really cool stuff out of Konogami, being able to just see the scene, pick up little notes of evidence, and kind of chain it all together cohesively into into what an investigator should be doing, I guess. He's an enforcer, but he's doing their job, it looked like, in this
He's doing
situation.
better than them.
Yeah. They go online. The department kind of goes online in order to look into Talisman being missing, because Talisman's IRL user being missing, because he's still active online, the character of Talisman. So they're like, somebody is assuming his identity online. Akane follows him into another chat room, so to speak, where the leader of this chat room is like Akane's old schoolmate, and she's like, what are you doing around in my chat room? And Akane breaks it down, and her friend, going under the surname Spooky Boogie,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that's hard to say, Spooky Boogie, is is willing to help by setting up an IRL meetup where everybody's going to dress up in their costumes of their online persona. And so if basically the thought set is that Talisman wanting to keep up their persona and their presence, they will show up regardless, and then the CID can collapse on them. Things do not go as planned at this party. Somebody hacks the system. Everybody's persona turns into Talisman, and the enforcers pull out their dominators.
He's pulling his dominator out.
This is a room full of online, maybe degenerates. We don't know. They're a bunch of online people, but these guys start pointing their dominators at everybody to try to identify Talisman, and basically everybody's numbers are in the set to stun range, so they just start shooting at everybody, essentially. wild
Yes.
Scene that happens. Obviously this makes headway with all of the users in the chat rooms. Talisman calls out Spooky Boogie online, saying, you are no longer fit to be the persona, you set that up, yada yada, I know more about you than you know. And Spooky Boogie is like, I'm gonna ban him from my chat room, yada yada yada, and whoom, somebody is standing there in her room.
I didn't even see that person in the reflection.
Yep.
I didn't even notice
in
that.
the room with her, as her identity has obviously been compromised. And we get to see that by the end of the episode, whatever happened to the owner of Talisman, the same fate is going to befall Spooky Boogie.
Is that the mob psycho? Because it looks like the hair. This was an interesting episode. This was pretty wild. I like the way, again, it felt very Sherlock. If this is the way it's going to be, I'm super happy with it. I'm down. I'm down to do it. When they're over there, they're like, hey, the couch, it forms around the furniture you have there, and the couch should have been there placed. But for some reason, it's over here. So let's look under it, blah, 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 following the trail of clues, like literally in time. That's why I liked the Batman movie with Robert Patterson, because it's like that. Because it's like the Batman movie was like, okay, we're gonna go to the clues, we're gonna go this clue, this thing, and it's figuring it out, and I'm like, ooh, what's next? You know what I mean? I'm following along and I don't know the answer. And I kind of like this because fucking Kogami was doing so well, and I was like, yo, let's go, dude, hell yeah.
Yeah, he's
And
like, oh, look at this. Oh, that's a little bit of residue from tape. They definitely taped down a bunch of stuff while they were while they were doing the stuff to the guy, and that's why we can't find a body.
yeah, I love that whole part. The idea of Talisman and
Online personas in general in this world.
another new concept. I like that they're bringing more stuff into it. This other episode 3 was like enforcers are prisoners. We have the projection mapping of the entire rooms and stuff, and then they use that here. And then now we're getting the idea, okay, we have VR. This is a VR world as well. CZ asked question, how do y'all react when you hear a voice actor you recognize? The Talisman guy instantly picked up as Dio from the JoJo's, and sat there like,
I recognized the voice, but I thought it was the same voice actor as OD in Gatchaman Krauts.
True.
I thought that was the same actor, but maybe that person voices all three of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not the voice actor knowledge.
I don't know. I read the manga, so
Deal.
yeah. But this whole idea that they have like this VR persona. How do you like? Okay, Talisman, 1 to 10. How cool is their avatar?
Oh yeah, it's dope avatar. Like I love
Fucking
the design.
invisible in the
Just the
middle.
whole floating, the floating hands and like the jester head that kind of just levitates around. It's really cool. It's really inspired. I don't know the last time. I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of that one character off My Hero, now that I think about it, I guess, how she has like the hands, the gloves, and the boots that you can see. But
Mhm. Oh, true.
it's a really cool avatar, especially when you put it up against everybody else's.
Yes.
Talisman and Spooky Boogie both have very cool avatars in this
Yes.
world.
I was definitely gonna ask because these are like the influencers, right? They're influencers in the
Exactly.
they're the influencers in the game. They got the end game, they did all the raids to get all the cool stuff.
Hmm.
And fucking Akane's little girl.
Little
It's
chibi
so
person
weird.
with
Yeah,
the
the little
little
hands.
hands, the hand clouds that like curl around.
Right here in this picture is like when you start up the game level 5, and then on the right is like I put in 700 hours into the game, like the difference between the avatars, which is pretty funny. um
It is really cool to see all the different avatars that they kind of just like throw in there,
yeah.
but then see these two be like really inspired because they didn't have to go with that hard with Talisman and Spooky Boogie, but they did.
They did not have to go that hard, especially here. I like sort of the face off. I'm still in the mystery. I don't know what's really going on.
I do like the face off, but I wish we could have seen a bit of maybe like I get where the show's going with it, but I'm just disappointed that it didn't give more of like a let's see Talisman's fans versus like Spooky Boogie's fans and like see which of them does have more power in terms of internet influence. But it does mention, I think
Does that matter?
Spooky meant it. That's what I mean. Show's not really going there with it. Spooky does mention that Talisman is a old time, like they've been on the internet influencing or whatever for like a while, and so when they started acting funny, she thought that that was just him kind of going like out of like he's going under, he doesn't
Yeah.
got it anymore, he doesn't have the thing anymore.
That old guy, he's not on TikTok. He's going yeah, he's going off the wall. He's going bonkers.
Hmm.
CZ says, "Can I just point out the guy in the white suit is an avatar of the original Gotcha Man? I think they look very similar. Gotcha
He
Man,
also looks like Speed Racer.
Speed Racer. Yes. There was also a in episode 3. There was also a reference to a Keanu Reeves movie. Johnny. It was on. It was on the. It was on the floppy disk when he put it in.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I didn't even catch that.
it's a reference to I think Keanu Reeves' character in a very old movie when he was very young. I can't think of the name. Johnny something.
Gotcha.
Anyways, um, I honestly wished we could have had some more of normal Talisman versus Spooky Boogie. Like I kind of want to see. I kind of
I know
like
what you
those
mean.
characters a lot, and I
Yeah.
really wished it would have been maybe one more episode. Like this episode would have just stayed a little longer with actual Talisman, and we could see like the social influence and stuff. But I get it; they're just introducing it, and the story's coming later
Mhm.
because Talisman and Spooky Boogie are dead. And
Yeah.
what do you think? Can I get some predictions before we end off the hour? Predictions. Why is this person doing this? Uh, why? What do you think they have to gain from taking these two influencers avatars and parading as them?
From Talisman, I'm still wondering and pondering that, but the person who assumed the identity of
Oh, you mute it. You mute it.
person that assumed the identity of Talisman really made a big point about Like you're no longer fit to be like this anarchist uh thing that you kind of say that you are. You no longer represent that. And it's going to be one of two things, and don't I can't really pick out which one it is yet. It's either somebody that like really thinks of like these ideological purposes, that these people that are trying to be things that they aren't don't deserve it, and so they need to like kind of assume their identities in order to be the true spooky boogie that everybody actually needed. Be the true talisman that everybody needed.
Okay, so they're kind of like, you aren't living up to what you say you should, or what I think you should be. So I'm gonna take over and I'm gonna do what, be the
Hmm.
real Joker, Harley Quinn of the world or whatever, cause actual
Because like
chaos.
it makes me think that like what's there to gain otherwise? Like, do you use these personalities, these identities to like create more mischief and chaos? It's like, well, that like just thinking about doing that affects your numbers. So it's
True.
like, what else is there to like really gain that's not going to be so obvious?
And people in chat that have seen it or seen the show already I just want one answer. I don't know if that was Makishima, Shogo Makishima, the white-haired guy that was at the beginning, like the very beginning. Was that the person that we saw at the end? I'm almost certain. We've only seen like
I
glimpses. We
forgot about
saw,
that.
yeah, we saw one glimpse of Kogami and Makishima in the very, very beginning, episode 1. They had like a showdown, and then at the end of episode 4, I was like, "Wait, is that the same person?" So I'm
Then
not too sure.
that's I missed that. Like I did see that off the first episode, but I missed that that's the connection there, and that
I
is
don't know if it
probably
is.
where if it is, that's probably where Konogami's unfinished business lies, because he keeps referring to unfinished business. The old
Hell yeah.
guy, I forgot his name, you mentioned really liking him too. He is a really cool character, and he mentions
There's a
to
lot of
Akane.
names.
Yeah, he mentions to Akane that like, when you stare in the void too long, the void stares back, and this is a guy that's been
Fuck.
staring at the void forever.
Oh
So
shit. I believe it is Makishima. Yes. Okay, CZ, cool. Yeah, that's the guy that Kogami had a battle with at the beginning, sort of. So I guess he's behind it, and we're definitely probably going to get a showdown between them two and find out their business, because we don't know their business at all. What's happening over there? But that was the first 4 episodes of Psychopass. We have officially passed through the Psycho, and we are different now. Um,
psychopass.
next Thursday, or whenever you're watching this, next week we're going to be watching episode 5 through 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, I keep doing 5, 6, 7. Yes,
Five,
we
six,
keep doing
seven,
that.
eight.
I keep wanting to say 9 as well. 5 through 8 of Psychopass. It's on Crunchyroll. I'm not too sure if it's on Netflix, like we said, but it is on Crunchyroll. So if you would like to join in on the discussion and watch together, it's kind of like an anime book club. You can do that, and you can talk about it in the Discord, because we have a little area for people to talk about in the Discord. Um, or yeah, just come by next week, watch it live on Twitch, twitch.tv/JulesTheHuman, this time next week, 11 a.m. Central Time, and we'll be talking about episode 5 through 8. But Matt, where can they find you on the internet?
On the internet, I am known as Spooky Boogie. No. I am on platforms at it's Matt_Galley. It's Matt_Galley, except for my Twitch, where you can find it at Matt_Galley, no ITS at the front. And where can the people find you?
Jules the Human on everything. Jules the Human on Twitter, Instagram, JulesTheHuman.com. This is posted on my YouTube channel, so if you missed some of it, it'll be posted the next day on YouTube, youtube.com/Jules the Human. Or you can watch this show on Spotify. You can actually view the video of this on Spotify. Just look up the Jules and Matt Anime Hour, and all the past episodes are going to be there, and they're in video form. On Apple Podcasts, they're in audio form. But yeah, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, follow, whatever. Do all the things, click all the buttons, and watch Psychopass episode 5 through 8 before next week. And we'll see you then.
Until next time, bye everybody.